I just wanted to share my experience with this in case anyone else is considering it. I have been using it as my main source of drinking water at home, and it has basically replaced the routine I used to have with bottled water and pitcher filters. I was not looking for something that needed a plumber or a permanent install. I wanted something I could set on the counter, use the same day, and keep using without thinking about it too much. What this unit is, in normal terms, is a countertop water filter that cleans water with reverse osmosis, and it also runs the water past an ultraviolet light during the process. The kind of person this is for is someone who does not want to drill holes, does not want to tap into a water line, or maybe lives in an apartment, rents, or just does not want another under-sink project. It also makes sense if you are the type of person who actually notices taste and smell differences, or if you have local tap water that is technically safe but still unpleasant. The reason I found it interesting is the combination of reverse osmosis and ultraviolet light in a countertop format. In day-to-day use, that translates to water that tastes flatter and cleaner, with less of that pool-like chlorine note, and it gives me a little more peace of mind when the water sits in the internal tank. I am not claiming it turns bad water into magic water. I'm just saying the output has been consistent for me, and I trust it more than a basic carbon pitcher. On the counter, it looks like a compact appliance, about the size and vibe of a coffee machine. The body feels solid enough that I do not worry about bumping it. The tanks are plastic, but not the thin, flimsy kind. When I pull the back tank out and carry it to the sink, it does not flex in a way that makes me nervous. The front buttons are simple and readable. I also like that it does not look overly technical. It just sits there and does its job. Setup was honestly the easiest part. I took it out of the box, rinsed what needed rinsing, filled the rear tank with tap water, plugged it in, and let it run through the initial cycles. There was no plumbing, no adapters, no messing with my faucet. The only thing to plan for is where you are going to put it, because you want enough space behind it to remove and refill the main tank without scraping your backsplash. In daily use, I treat it like this. I refill the tank when I am already in the kitchen doing something else. Then I press a button for the amount of water I want, put my glass under the spout, and wait a moment. It dispenses a set amount, which is nice because I do not have to stand there and guess when to stop. The preset options fit the cups I usually use, and for bigger bottles I just do more than one dispense. It is not hard, just an extra step. There are 2 tanks to understand, and once you do, it makes sense. There is a larger tank in the back that holds the tap water you pour in. Inside, there is a smaller holding area where the filtered water collects, so it is ready when you want it. In practice, that means it does not always filter on demand for every single ounce you dispense. It tends to keep some clean water ready, and then you will hear it run to refill that internal reserve. About the sound, it is not silent. When it is actively filtering and refilling, you can hear the pump working. In my kitchen, it comes across like a quiet appliance hum, not a harsh buzzing. I can still have a conversation over it. I would not want it running on a bedside table at night, but on a kitchen counter it has been fine. I tested it in the ways I actually live. I used it for plain drinking water for coffee and for cooking rice and pasta. The taste difference shows up most in plain water and hot drinks. Coffee tastes less bitter to me, not because it adds flavor, but because it removes that edge I get from my tap water. Ice cubes made from it also come out clearer and do not pick up that freezer odor as easily, which surprised me a little. For cooking, it is less dramatic, but it is still nice knowing I am not boiling whatever taste and smell I was getting before into the food. One thing I paid attention to was whether the water taste stayed consistent over time. With pitchers, I often notice that the first few days after a filter change taste fine, then it slowly drifts. With this unit, it has been steady. When the machine has been sitting unused for a while, like overnight, the first pour still tastes normal to me. I also like that the unit is doing the ultraviolet step as part of the process, because it addresses that worry some people have about stored water sitting inside a machine. Maintenance has been straightforward. The back panel comes off without a struggle, and I can access the filters without feeling like I am going to break something. The unit alerts you when it wants attention. I appreciate that because I do not want to track a calendar reminder for filter changes. Realistically, I still check it myself once in a while, just to make sure everything looks clean and seated correctly. Filter replacement has been simple in my experience, but I will mention a small, real annoyance. The first time you do it, you will probably move slower than you think, because you are trying to understand how everything clicks in. Once you have done it once, it is routine. Also, you need to be okay with the idea that reverse osmosis systems create wastewater as part of the process. That is normal for this type of filtration. If you are someone who is very focused on minimizing water waste, that is something to consider before you commit to any reverse osmosis setup. Another limitation is pace. If you are trying to fill a very large container quickly, this is not the same experience as a faucet. It is more like using an appliance that produces clean water on its own schedule. For my household, it works because I mostly fill glasses, mugs, and bottles, and it keeps up with that. If you have a lot of people constantly pulling water all day long, you may find yourself refilling the rear tank often, and you might hear it running more. As far as smart features and app support, I am going to be direct. For this kind of product, I do not need an app to enjoy it. I care more about consistent water, clear status indicators, and not having to guess when something needs attention. The on-unit alerts have been enough for me to manage it. If you are someone who wants everything tracked on a phone, you might find this more appliance-like than smart home-like, and that is not a complaint, just a style difference. After living with it, my overall impression is that it fits a specific kind of person, and I happen to be that person. I wanted cleaner tasting water without installing anything, and I wanted something I could actually keep up with. This unit has been easy to live with. It has not been fussy, and the water has been consistently pleasant to drink. The trade-offs are the normal reverse osmosis trade-offs, like wastewater and not instant unlimited flow, and the fact that it takes up counter space like any countertop appliance. If you are deciding between this and a basic pitcher, I think the main difference you will feel is consistency and taste, especially if your tap water has a noticeable smell. If you are deciding between this and an under-sink system, it comes down to whether you want a permanent install and a dedicated faucet. I did not. I wanted something I could set up in minutes, keep on the counter, and use every day without thinking too hard. You can find detailed information about the Y7P-BW UV countertop reverse osmosis water filter in the comments section. See you in the next video.